In a significant diplomatic exchange, French President Emmanuel Macron engaged in a phone conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping on May 22, 2025, addressing pressing issues ranging from trade tensions to global peace initiatives. This dialogue reflects the intricate web of international relations as both leaders seek to navigate the complexities of their nation's economic and geopolitical interests. Macron's primary focus during the conversation was on enhancing trade relations, particularly advocating for greater access to the Chinese market for French businesses. One of the key points he raised was the ongoing trade investigation into French cognac producers, which have faced scrutiny from Chinese authorities. Macron urged Xi not to impose tariffs on these producers, emphasizing the need for a level playing field for companies from both nations.
Chinese investment is welcome in France,
but our companies need a level playing field in both our countries, Macron stated in a social media post following the call.
The backdrop to this discussion is marked by escalating trade tensions, particularly after France became the leading proponent of EU tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles last October. The ongoing cognac probe is widely perceived as retaliation, and its resolution is anticipated by July.
Despite previous discussions between French Economy Minister Eric Lombard and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, no agreement had been reached, underscoring the challenges in negotiating trade terms amidst broader geopolitical disputes. Beyond trade, the conversation touched upon pressing global issues, including the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza. Macron expressed a commitment to working with China toward achieving an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in Ukraine, a sentiment that echoes his broader call for peace and security in the Middle East.
He conveyed France's intention to collaborate with China in organizing a conference aimed at advancing a two-state solution in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Xi Jinping, for his part, reaffirmed the importance of China-France relations, highlighting the need for high-level exchanges to bolster bilateral cooperation. He suggested that both nations should explore opportunities in emerging sectors such as the digital economy and green development, while also deepening traditional cooperation in areas like aerospace and nuclear energy. The more complex the international landscape becomes, the more essential it is for China and France to make correct strategic choices, Xi remarked, underscoring the necessity for both countries to act as stabilizing forces in the global order.
This dialogue comes at a crucial moment as Macron prepares for an upcoming trip to Vietnam, Indonesia,
and Singapore, which aims to enhance France's influence in the Indo-Pacific region, a region where China's assertiveness has raised concerns among Western nations. With both leaders committed to navigating their countries through a tumultuous global landscape, the outcomes of their discussions may have lasting implications for international trade and diplomatic relations. As the world watches, the future of France-China relations will likely hinge on the ability of both nations to balance their economic ambitions with the need for cooperative engagement in global affairs. The forthcoming months will reveal whether these dialogues translate into tangible actions that foster peace, stability, and mutual benefit in an increasingly interconnected world. In an increasingly complex global landscape, China is positioning itself as a stabilizing force, but its recent actions suggest a more intricate agenda at play.
The release of China's National Security White Paper, combined with President Xi Jinping's strategic dialogue with French President Emmanuel Macron, reflects a dual narrative: a commitment to international cooperation and an unwavering focus on the survival of the Chinese Communist Party (CCP).
On May 22, 2025, President Xi engaged in a significant phone conversation with President Macron, during which both leaders emphasized the importance of deepening bilateral cooperation and safeguarding global order. She highlighted the historical context of China-France relations, urging high-level exchanges and strategic communication to foster mutual understanding. He called for collaboration in traditional sectors like investment and aerospace, while encouraging exploration in emerging fields such as the digital economy and green development. China sees Europe as an important and independent pole in a multipolar world, she stated, emphasizing the need for both nations to work together to address global challenges.
Macron echoed this sentiment, asserting France's commitment to the One China principle and expressing a desire to strengthen economic ties.
However, as these diplomatic overtures unfold, they coincide with a broader narrative encapsulated in the recently published National Security White Paper. This document portrays a landscape that is both volatile and stable, with a clear focus on the CCP's continuity and stability. It addresses various sectors including politics, economy, and technology, all under the CCP's authority, indicating that political security is prioritized above public interests. Experts such as Matthew Ducatel from the French-based Institut Montaigne have noted key themes in the white paper, including the centrality of Xi's comprehensive national security concept and the emphasis on political security as essential for national stability. The document claims to aim for people's security. Yet it reveals a stark contradiction as it reinforces the party's prominence over the populace's interests. The timing of the white paper's release, amidst growing geopolitical tensions and President Trump's unpredictable foreign policy, suggests a strategic maneuver by Beijing to assert its position as a stabilizing force while simultaneously preparing for potential challenges to its authority. The document seeks to project confidence and control, positioning the CCP as a resilient entity amidst external pressures. As the international community grapples with these dual narratives, the implications for global relations become increasingly complex. China's insistence on sovereignty and territorial integrity, especially concerning sensitive issues like Taiwan and maritime rights, raises questions about its commitment to multilateralism. The white paper's declaration that the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries should be respected is undermined by China's actions that often contradict this principle. Looking ahead, the interplay between China's diplomatic engagements and its internal security narrative will be crucial in shaping international relations. As Xi and Macron's discussions signify a potential for enhanced cooperation, the simultaneous focus on CCP survival and ideological resilience suggests a tension that could influence future interactions with the West. The question remains whether China's strategy will yield genuine collaboration or further entrench divisions in an already polarized global landscape. In conclusion, as China navigates its role on the world stage, the duality of its approach, promoting international cooperation while safeguarding the CCP's authority, will be pivotal in determining its future trajectory and the dynamics of global politics. The coming months will reveal whether this balancing act can foster stability or exacerbate tensions in an ever-evolving geopolitical environment. As the global economic landscape shifts, China is once again making headlines with a series of significant legislative changes aimed at bolstering its private sector. The introduction of a landmark law dedicated to private enterprises signifies a pivotal moment for the Chinese economy, underscoring the government's recognition of the crucial role these businesses play in driving growth, innovation, and employment. This new legislation, which came into effect recently, establishes a robust framework for the nearly 57 million registered private companies across the country, including major players such as Alibaba, Huawei, Tencent, Xiaomi, and BYD. These private firms account for approximately 92% of all businesses in mainland China and contribute around 60% to the nation's gross domestic product (GDP). Furthermore, they are responsible for 70% of the country's technological advancements and provide 80% of urban jobs, making their success integral to China's economic health. Yang Huqing, the head of the Economic Law Department at the Legislative Affairs Commission of the National People's Congress Standing Committee, emphasized the law's significance, stating, "It is unprecedented in that it stipulates a major long-term policy of China to promote the sustained quality development of the private economy." This statement highlights the government's commitment to creating a more equitable business environment where private companies can thrive alongside state-owned enterprises. Historically, private companies in China have faced challenges stemming from a market landscape dominated by state-owned enterprises, which often enjoyed preferential access to resources and financing. In the first quarter of this year, investment in the private sector saw only a modest increase of 0.4%. In stark contrast to the 6.5% growth experienced by state-owned firms. The new law aims to rectify these disparities by ensuring that private enterprises receive equal access to markets and financial support. Liu Shengxi, deputy director of the China Society of Macroeconomics, noted the law's emphasis on equality, stating, "The best business environment is rule of law." The term equality appears 26 times within the legislation, underscoring the government's resolve to foster fair competition and support for private enterprises. The positive market reaction was evident, with the Beijing Stock Exchange 50 index, which tracks smaller cap tech firms, rising by 1.2% upon the law's implementation. Moreover, the law introduces mechanisms to facilitate financing for startups, allowing them to use warehouse receipts, accounts receivable, intellectual property rights, and equities as collateral, even if they are not yet profitable. This shift is expected to enhance access to capital and encourage innovation among smaller enterprises. Additionally, it prohibits the misuse of administrative powers that could stifle the growth of private companies, thereby fostering a more conducive environment for research and development. In Shanghai, local authorities have preemptively enacted measures to support the private sector, releasing 26 new initiatives designed to foster high-quality growth. These policies aim to broaden the participation of private companies in key sectors such as transportation, energy, and green technology, reflecting a strategic approach to enhance innovation and global competitiveness. The implications of these developments extend beyond China's borders. As the nation embarks on this economic reform journey, it stands poised to extend its influence on the global stage, particularly in light of its ongoing economic push amidst escalating tensions with the United States. The response from former President Donald Trump indicates a growing concern over China's expanding economic footprint, as he publicly expressed outrage at the country's assertive global strategies. Looking ahead, the success of this new law and the accompanying policies will be closely monitored, as they could redefine the dynamics of China's private sector and its relationship with state-owned enterprises. As private companies gain strength and confidence through enhanced legal protections and support, the potential for innovation, job creation, and economic growth remains significant. The coming years will undoubtedly reveal the long-term impacts of these legislative changes on both the domestic and international fronts, as China seeks to solidify its position as a global economic powerhouse. On May 22, 2025, China unveiled its National Security White Paper, a pivotal document that outlines the country's security strategy at a time of rising geopolitical tensions and shifting global alliances. This comprehensive report serves not only as a declaration of Beijing's security priorities but also signals its intentions to assert a more dominant role in global affairs, particularly in the context of its relationship with the United States and various regional neighbors. The white paper, titled National Security in the New Era, was released by the State Council Information Office and paints a picture of a world that is both volatile and stable. However, beneath this veneer of stability lies a deeper concern for the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) regarding its own survival and ideological supremacy. As noted in the document, the CCP's regime security is paramount. The paper emphasizes that political security is the fundamental task, underscoring the party's need to maintain its grip on power amidst external pressures. Matthew Ducatel, a senior fellow at the French think tank Institut Montaigne, emphasizes that this white paper reflects Chairman Xi Jinping's comprehensive national security concept, which encompasses a vast array of domains from political stability to technological self-reliance. The paper articulates a vision of holistic security, integrating various sectors such as military, economic, societal, and even environmental concerns into its framework. This approach aims to present China as a stabilizing force within an increasingly disorderly international landscape, a claim that some analysts argue is more about projecting power than about actual security dynamics. The timing of the white paper's release is particularly noteworthy, coinciding with escalating tensions in U.S.-China relations. Ryan Hass, a scholar at the Brookings Institution, observed that the Chinese leadership is conditioning its public for potential economic turbulence while portraying the United States as the principal adversary. This narrative serves to bolster nationalism within China, redirecting domestic frustrations outward. With President Trump's unpredictable foreign policy adding to the uncertainty, the CCP appears to be preparing for a prolonged strategic competition with the U.S. While the document attempts to reassure the international community of China's peaceful intentions, it simultaneously reflects a defensive posture against perceived external threats, particularly from Western nations. The white paper asserts that Western anti-China forces are engaged in a concerted effort to contain and undermine China, labeling such actions as significant security threats. Relations with India and Bhutan, particularly regarding border disputes, are also highlighted, with the document stating that negotiations to resolve these issues are progressing.
Interestingly,
while the paper espouses a commitment to multilateralism and global security governance, it also reveals inherent contradictions. For instance, China's assertive stance on territorial integrity, particularly concerning Taiwan and the South China Sea, suggests that Beijing's definition of security may often conflict with the interests of its neighbors and the broader international community. Ducatel points out that the document promotes a facade of benevolent neutrality while China continues to maintain aggressive postures in various territorial disputes. Moreover, the white paper's emphasis on a global security initiative reveals China's aspirations to position itself as a leader in establishing a new world order.
This initiative seeks to counterbalance US-led coalitions and promote a vision of security that aligns with China's strategic interests. However, given China's historical actions, many observers remain skeptical of its commitment to the principles it advocates.
The implications of this white paper extend beyond just national security. It reflects a broader strategy of integrating national security with economic resilience and technological self-reliance. As China faces increasing scrutiny and pressures from the US and its allies, the white paper makes it clear that the country is intent on fortifying its defenses while simultaneously pursuing high-quality development as a means to enhance its security. In conclusion, China's National Security White Paper marks a significant moment in the country's geopolitical narrative, providing insights into its strategic thinking and intentions. As the global landscape continues to evolve with increasing competition and shifting alliances, the world will be watching closely to see how China navigates these challenges and assert its influence on the international stage. The coming months will be critical in determining whether China's aspirations for global leadership will be realized or if they will encounter formidable resistance from established powers. In an era marked by complex geopolitical dynamics, the recent phone call between Chinese President Xi Jinping and French President Emmanuel Macron underscores the importance of cooperation in safeguarding international
trade norms.
As both nations confront mounting global economic challenges, their leaders have emphasized the necessity of working together to ensure fair competition and resolve trade disputes, particularly concerning the French Cognac industry, which has been embroiled in a Chinese anti-dumping investigation since January.
Following their conversation on May 22, Macron took to social media to express optimism about the progress made regarding cognac tariffs, stating,
"We have agreed to move forward as quickly as possible on the issue of cognac, which is essential for our producers." This agreement reflects a broader desire to strengthen economic ties, with Macron reaffirming France's commitment to fostering a welcoming environment for Chinese investments while insisting on equitable competition for both French and Chinese businesses. The discussion comes at a pivotal moment as China and France navigate their respective economic landscapes, which have been increasingly affected by global trade tensions. The cognac industry, a cornerstone of France's luxury goods sector, has found itself caught in the crossfire of trade disputes,
prompting the need for swift resolution. The Chinese government's recent decision to extend its investigation into EU brandy has left many French producers anxious about potential tariffs that could stifle their exports. This diplomatic engagement is not an isolated incident but part of a larger trend in which China is actively seeking to reinforce its international relationships. As highlighted by Lian Jianjun, Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs in China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs during a recent press briefing, China's diplomatic efforts are crucial for building a community with a shared future. He emphasized that neighboring nations play a vital role in China's development and national security, underscoring the significance of bilateral cooperation. In a parallel context,
Kenya has also asserted its sovereignty amid increasing scrutiny from the United States regarding its ties with China. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi recently defended Kenya's right to forge its own foreign partnerships, stating unequivocally Kenya is a sovereign state.
It's absolutely important.
His remarks come on the heels of President William Ruto's state visit to China, where he advocated for a more equitable global order. This stance has drawn the ire of U.S. officials who view Kenya's growing relationship with Beijing as a potential shift away from traditional Western alliances. The juxtaposition of these international events highlights a broader geopolitical shift where nations are increasingly asserting their autonomy in the face of great power competition. As countries like Kenya navigate their foreign relations, the implications of their choices resonate far beyond their borders, influencing global trade patterns and diplomatic alignments.
In conclusion,
the ongoing dialogues between nations such as China and France, as well as Kenya's assertive stance in its diplomatic relationships, signal a transformative phase in international relations. As countries prioritize their economic interests and strategic partnerships, the future will likely see a continuing emphasis on collaboration, with nations striving to balance their relationships with both Western and Eastern powers. The unfolding developments in trade and diplomacy will be critical to shaping a more interconnected and multipolar world.